Hey guys, what's going on? This is Brad from the Ed Army, and we are back with another Regulation Battle Volume 1 video. You have probably been seeing a lot of them on my channel, and the main reason why is I want people hyped for this format. The reason why is we have this lull until we get to BT21 and the starter decks coming in April, so I did want to push it because the starter decks will be the next thing, so I can't wait to do a What's the Scoop on them, because I think the Adventure archetype is really cool, and I really like that they're finally making some of these decks more, I'll say archetype locked, but also not really archetype locked. They're more support pieces for other decks, but they all tie into their main like anime theme, so it's really cool. But like I said, we're going to get past that as we're talking about Crossheart today, as this is going to be, I think, one of the more unique decks in the Regulation Battle Volume 1 format. This is mainly because that there is a lot of cards that are not available for this format. However, it still has enough to squeeze its way back into the game, and I do think a lot of people are going to be championing this deck for the format, because I do think the Crossheart actually still has the ability to really kind of take off. But I think what this deck is going to need is a lot of help from its pilots, but more importantly, it's going to need kind of the mad crafting of brains. That deck building is going to be key, because this deck is actually a lot different than a lot of the strategies in Battle Volume 1. So we're going to go straight for it, as we're going to talk about the eggs today. So the main thing first we're going to talk about is that the eggs do not change. We have Pixmon, both of them. They have the red one from BT19, sorry, and then we have the BT10 yellow Pixmon. Personally, between the two, I still think the yellow Pixmon will probably see the most play. This is mainly because it has the most simple effect that when attacking, if this Digimon has the Crossheart trait, you have to draw one, whereas Pixmon from BT19 says when attacking once per turn, by placing one Digimon card with the Crossheart or Blue Flare trait under or from your hand under one of your tamers, you get to draw one. I do think that that effect, although it's good and it does give you the red source that you might want to start with, it is inherently slower because you just don't have the ability to really gain as many tamers as you'll see later, but due to just the restriction. But the key factor is in this format, I still think yellow Pixmon is fantastic because all of your rookies basically turn into a free draw one, and you do actually want them to be deleted, so it's pretty cool. Moving into our first lineup of level 3s to talk about, the main thing I want to talk about is that the Shoutmons are going to be important, but the main one you're going to talk about is obviously BT10s. This one allows you to search for the top 3 cards of your deck, and it allows you to add one card with the Crossheart trait and then one tamer, and then both of them actually have to have the Crossheart trait, and you get them to your hand. But the key factor is this one has save as its main effect, and then it also gives your Digimon with Shoutmon in name a rush for the turn. The main reason that this is so important, and this is the main Shoutmon between all the other Shoutmon that we have available, is that this Shoutmon actually has no bad effect. The main reason I say that is the BT19 Shoutmon is really cool and gives more rush, but the problem is there is no Omni Shoutmon in the format. There is Omni Shoutmon X, but I'm pretty sure it does not count as Omni Shoutmon, and you cannot place it under your tamers in the first place, so it doesn't really matter. Additionally, the BT12 Shoutmon is an option that I think you could play a few copies of, because it has the ability to Digivolve on top of anything with save, but more importantly, it's just a Shoutmon and it gives removal for its inheritable, so you may want to keep in mind the BT12. But besides that, the BT10 Shoutmon is your mandatory 4 of. It'll help you find your tamer. It'll help you find access to your other Digimon. Like every Digimon, the archetype can be found, so that's the reason we're playing 4 of them, and rush is no joke. Additionally, Starmon returns from BT10. This one is here because it simply has save, but more importantly, its ability to, when you are attacking, if this Digimon has the Crossheart trait, you draw one. This is very important because you can Digivolve in this deck up to your level 4, which isn't too complicated, and you'll see in a second why, and get 2 draws if you swing with a certain level 4, so it is important that you run that. Additionally, we are backing up a lot of our other pieces because we do need to play some engine requirements for the Digicross Digimon. We need to play Sparrowmon. This one is the one from BT19. This one allows you to have collision, but then also it allows you that when it's Digivolving or playing, you can Digivolve into Raptor Sparrowmon from underneath one of your tamers. You're not going to use that effect because Raptor Sparrowmon unfortunately is a rare in this format and it wouldn't really see play anyways, but you know, this is still a card you have to play because you need engine requirement. But having collision is actually really cool because this keyword will only be available to, I think, the black archetype and color during this format. So having this as a option, I think is just really cool. And then finally, a card I wanted to talk about is the BT11 Cutemon. Now, this one is a Crossheart trait, but the more importantly fact of this is that it lets you recycle from your trash. If you're thinking why would you play this card, the main reason is that because we're only able to access one of the Crossheart Tamers in this format, you may want to have to think about playing this card as an engine requirement to your deck because you really want to like load the pieces that are in trash underneath your Tamer. So you may want to consider Cutemon. I have it here as an option, but you also have some other rookies you could play. Key factor is this is what you really want to work with because these are going to be consistent pieces for your Digicross Digimon and they do stuff. So that's kind of the reason why. Finally, I also want to talk about our other level 3s here. So we actually have the different memory blockers. Funny enough, Cutemon is here, but it is not a Crossheart trait. We also have Pillowmon, and you also have Tapirmon. Main reason where I would consider running these 3 is because this deck is definitely a lot different than most. You can also in theory, switch out those for the red options as well if you choose to play BT19's Pixmon. But the main reason why is they're just memory floodgates. They're all uncommon to common, so you want to probably run some. I personally would prefer playing Pillowmon because you can lock down a lot of cards and decks that want to play out Digimon. And the other two are just kind of if you want to. It's really good that Tapirmon exists because now yellow has a memory blocker effect and you can use it here. But moving into our level 4s, I want to talk about it. So our level 4 count is kind of weird because you do have some options, but I do think the BT10 original Ballistamon and Dorulumon are the options you want to pick for your main Dorulumon and Ballistamons. Main reason why is that the BT19 ones are very good. However, you do not have access to the special evolution condition to Digivolve on top of any of your specific Crossheart trait Digimon, and you do not also have the ability to go into Jaeger Dorulumon or the Ultra Ballistamon because both are rares. So although I like both of those cards, I do think that the BT19 ones are just beat out by their BT10 counterparts because for a format like this, you really want these other abilities where when you have other Digimon on the field with Crossheart traits, for Ballistamon you gain Blocker, and Dorulumon actually pops Floodgate Digimon because it's 3k and lower. So it's a really cool thing. Both have Save, and then both give Shoutmon Digimon or Digimon Shoutmon in their name as inheritables. Your turn for the ability of Ballistamon, you get Piercing, and Dorulumon gives your opponent the ability, or gives your Digimon the ability to have minus 2,000 on your opponent's security Digimon. So these are your main engine requirements. These two on top of your other level 3s that I mentioned before from the Crossheart traits. You need them for Cross 4, you need them for Cross 5, and you do need them for Cross 3. So you do have to run them as well. The main factor is when it comes to the other slots, you have some options. Personally, there's Shoutmon King version. I was originally not thinking about this card until I think I saw one of my commenters actually mention it because they were going to play Crossheart, and I think that person, whoever you are, if you're watching this video, I got that from you, and I think that's really smart. The main reason why is that when you play or Digivolve into Shoutmon King mode, or King version, you're able to play out a Taiki Kudo, and in this deck, you absolutely need to have ways to get Taiki onto the field because unfortunately, there are only going to be 4 Taikis in the deck, so as soon as you get access to one, you want to be a way to combo it off and get it to the field. This is one of your best ways, and personally, I think it's really smart. Additionally, you have the ability to have Save on this card, but more importantly, what you want to do is Shoutmon King version is that this card can Digicross with any of your Digimon with Save to reduce its play cost, so it comes out for 3. I think it's really cool because, like I said, you can just combo it off. Additionally, it has removal, so unfortunately, you're not really going to use it because you only have maybe a possible Digimon that can Digivolve on top of the King version unless you're playing out of engine. So you're probably not going to want to run it. But the point is, it does pop 4k unless DP Digimon. So if you at all, for whatever reason, think you want to run this, I still think it's a solid card. Additionally, we can back that up in terms of talking about cards with the last one I want to talk about is Luminamon. So BT19 Luminamon is a weird option, I think, but it's really cool. So on play, it will let you reveal the top 3 cards of your deck. You get to add 1 card with the Crossheart, Blue Flare, or Twilight trait among them to the hand, and then you return the rest to the bottom. But more importantly, you are able to then play 1 Tamer with a play cost of 4 or less from your hand without paying the cost. Then you save this Digimon on deletion. Main reason you want to play this card, I think, is this allows you to search again. It is 5 cost, but in the early game, this card can really be a high roll card where you play this for 5, your opponent's like, okay, I get 5 memory. However, you will immediately get access to your Tamer if you have one to play, and you get a search, and you have this thing on field, and it can attack, so it's technically a security if you think about it against your opponent. It is also a free Tamer, and it is also the ability to search. So that's 3 things you can do in a slow format like this, especially if you're going first, and if your opponent is making you go second or you go second, you can still play this out if they go for like a Tamer, for instance, and give you like 4 memory. You only pay 1 memory for this. So it would be pretty insane, or like 2 memory if there's a 3-cost tamer, or Digimon, vice versa. Point is, this card is insane. But yeah, that's pretty much all we're going to do with those. We're now going to talk about our boss Digimon in the deck, which is kind of funny because we're skipping level 5s, but funny enough, your boss Digimon may be a level 5. So we're going to start off with the main ones that we'll probably see in the format, being Shoutmon Cross 3, Shoutmon Cross 4, and Shoutmon Cross 5. Now, specifically, I want to point out that these are the Cross 4 and Cross 5 from BT19, before I talk about the fact that we are also having BT11 Shoutmon Cross 3. Now, of these 3 cards, the most important one will probably be Cross 3. Now, the main reason why is Cross 3 will allow you to search the top, I believe it's the top 3 cards of your deck, and you get to add up to 2 cards with the Cross Heart trait among them. So the reason this is so huge is that also it has the effect at the start of your turn you can delete this Digimon and gain a memory. The main focus is that you're also able to have material save too. So once you have your setup in the right position, this card immediately comes out, looks at the top 3, you add 2, you're going to be putting Shoutmon underneath this, so you'll probably be giving it Rush, and then this card also obviously can attack, but the key thing is having Ballistamon will give it Piercing, having Darulamon will give minus 2k DP on the security, so this card will most likely possibly survive the check. If it doesn't, it loads 2 sources back underneath, and also when it digicrosses for its effect, if you have all 3, you'll be reducing its play cost to 1. Interestingly enough, as long as you have 2 sources in this card, so to reduce its play cost by 4, this card is definitely worth playing if you need searching in the early game, because this card allows you to obviously look at top 3, grab 2, so this will allow you to grab your tamer, but also other pieces, because this card's actually very good just to get online, because it is a searcher. It is going to be a very good searcher because it's basically an omni searcher for the deck, and is one of the reasons why this card I think is the mandatory of the other Digimon, because you just want to be able to search quickly. You'll be drawing a lot but also searching, so you can increase your consistency, and that's what Cross Heart's always really been good at. Additionally, when we look at Cross 4 and Cross 5, the big problem with these 2 Digimon specifically is they don't actually have save in their text, which it doesn't really matter as much, but it's interesting to see that they don't have save. They don't even have material save. They have none of that. Instead, what they carry is, instead of having save, they allow you to, when these Digimon would leave the battle area, they can take some of their sources. In the case of something like Cross 4, it allows you to take its Digi-Evolution sources, and you get to put 3 of them underneath your tamer. Vice versa for Cross 5, it lets you take 4 sources and do the same thing. The key factor for both of these is that they also can't Digivolve as well, so you will be hard playing them no matter what. The key factor is by Digicrossing for both of them, if you have all the materials, they are free to play, so it is very important to understand. That's what makes these 2, I think, a lot stronger in a sense, because you're not actually paying any memory to actually play them if you have every source. For Cross 4, it's important because this card isn't as good, obviously, as the BT10 Cross 4, but we don't really care. What we want is that this card can come down, have all the sources underneath it, and start attacking immediately, so it can pressure your opponent, which is always really cool. Cross 5 also fits the same bill. It does the same thing, and you just want to hit the field, hit your opponent, and then they're in trouble a bit. So that's the key thing. The key factor, too, is once you have Tamer set up, both of them load their sources underneath your Taiki, so it's very important to have that ability, and pretty much these 2 are here as additional requirements because they just give you more abilities to Digicross and put your opponent on the back foot quicker. So that's why we're running them. But key factor 2 is if you only have 2 sources for each, you're not really going to be reducing the play cost all too much. So for Cross 4, you at least want 3 sources underneath it, so it's like a 2 to play cost. And then for something like the Cross 4, or Cross 5, sorry, you want to have at least 4 sources, because if you played for 2, it's not that bad, but if you played for like 6, that kind of hurts, because you really don't want to play it for 6. You really want to play it for less, because it is a 10k DP Digimon. You don't have a lot of DP buffs in the deck at all, if any. So yeah, you also want to make sure you're getting them onto the field so they don't die quickly. But also Cross 3, you don't care if it dies. Also talking about your other boss Digimon you could possibly play. This also does talk about some engine pieces you might want to play. So we have both Beelzemon, we also have Shoutmon Cross 4B, and then we also have Z-Greymon. So we're actually going to talk about this in an interesting order. I'm going to start with Z-Greymon. The main reason you would play this card is that it can go on top of all of your level 5 Digimon, which is basically Cross 5, and maybe Cross 4B if you choose to play it. Main reason I'm talking about this card is it is Blitz, but the reason, if you're wondering why would you even run this, you can play the BT5 Shoutmon in the deck because it does allow you to get access to Shoutmon Digimon and Blitz Digimon, so you could search this out as your big like finishing piece, because blitzing can win you the game if your opponent has no security left, so it is important. Additionally, Beelzemon is something I want to talk about because it technically is a boss Digimon for this archetype. It goes on top of any of your level 5s because they have They have, yeah, they have Crossheart in their trait because this is technically the Crossheart Beelzemon. More importantly, it is some removal, like you trash the top 3 and then you can delete one of your opponent's level 4 Digimon, but for every 10 cards in trash, you can increase the amount you delete by, so you can get a lot of Floodgate Digimon off the field. But additionally, we also want to talk about Cross 4B. This card is interesting because it is something you can play. I'm not saying I wouldn't recommend it, it's just that in this format, the problem is this card's a bit slow, but you can Digivolve on top of any of your level 4s for 3 cost. So Cross 4, Cross 3 can turn into this, so you can give a lot of their inheritables to this card because it is a Shoutmon. Key thing is when it's digivolving or on play, you can place one Digimon card with the Crossheart in its name from your hand or under your Tamers, as I think this Digimon's bottom Digi-Evolution card, and then one of your Beelzemons. I think it gets to return to the field or something. Like I said, I'm not really familiar with this card because I've never seen it be played. Like, no offense to anyone who likes this card, I've just never seen it be played before. So yeah, I'm a little unfamiliar with it, but I'll read its effect out again if I can get a better resolution. Sorry. Yeah, because I'm reading off of the things that I've made and just wanted to make sure. No script, just, making sure I can read it clearly so I don't say the wrong things. There is Beelzemon, this Digimon's bottom Digi-Evolution cards, return to... Oh, okay, so I get why this card didn't see play in the main format, but this card can see play in this format because it allows you to return 2 of your sources with Crossheart from the trash to your hand. So, yeah, funny enough, this card actually might be pretty good in this format. Cross 4B might be pretty interesting here. But yeah, that's basically what you have to work with, I think. If anyone else has seen some secret spice that I missed, maybe let me know, but I'm pretty sure this is everything you can use. Interestingly enough, like I said, Cross 4B, I did not think about that, but that effect actually isn't that bad. But you do have to run Beelzemon if you're going to run it, because otherwise, returning simply or placing one card underneath this thing as an effect isn't that interesting. But I definitely could say if you're running Beelzemon, I think that's a really cool effect to like slot one underneath, and then you get to go ahead and immediately like get 2 back to your hand. That could be really big to make some momentum swings with like Cross 3. So yeah, pretty cool. I like that. But finally, we're talking about the reason why the deck is a little bit wonky in this format, because we have the generals themselves. In my opinion, you will be playing probably these 2, being the BT19 Taiki and Kyria. So starting off, BT19 Taiki is pretty much your main, like, He's the general of the deck, obviously. You want to see him as quickly as possible. He's a memory setter, but also he's your way to, when you have sources underneath your Tamers, you suspend him for a Digicross, and you use those sources underneath. It's really important, I think, that you play 4 of these no matter what, because you want to see this as quickly as possible. When you have Taiki on the field, Crossheart can do everything it needs to, but that's the problem with this format. For the Crossheart deck, it only has access to this Taiki, so I think they did that on purpose in a way, because if they knew about this format anyways in advance, it's really smart to lock down the ability of a deck like this to not have access to consistency as quick, but having one Tamer, and admittedly, this Taiki is insane because it is a memory setter for the format. It's really important that you get access to this quickly, so do keep in mind it's one of the reasons why Crossheart, I think, has the best advantage in when Taiki's on the field. However, it will have a problem when Taiki is not on the field, so we will have to work on that. Additionally, BT19 Kyria is here because he actually synergizes with your Crossheart cards, because he allows you to, at the start of your main phase, you slot a Crossheart or Blue Flare card underneath him and you gain a memory. Big problem with him, though, I will say, is you do not have access to use him for Digicross. I think, if I'm correct, yeah, you can only suspend Taiki for those effects, because Kyria specifically says you need to have Blue Flare Digimon instead of Crossheart. So yeah, you're unable to use Kyria as well as you could in other decks. This is just an unfortunate thing about this, but it's also cool for the format because I think it makes it a bit more fair for many other decks, because it would be unfair if this card could also do Digicross for the Crossheart trait, because then that would just make this, I think, a little bit too good. But yeah, the Kyria only allows you to do the Blue Flare trait cards, as his ability to suspend him and slot sources underneath. I still really think it's cool that you have access to at least 2 Tamers in this format, because you can't search for Kyria because he's not a Crossheart Tamer, but you still want access to him because he gives you free memory when you slot one underneath. So pretty much what you'd be slotting underneath him is pieces you don't need to have in the late game. So technically, say you have like your extra copies, I would slot them underneath Kyria, so you just simply do it into rotation, like have them. Additionally, you could, in theory, I guess, play Hybrid Digimon to get Kyria off the field. So when I say that is like, go ahead and you digivolve the Kyria into like, I don't know, a Lunamon, for instance. The reason you do that is you swing with it, have it die specifically, and then all those sources go to the trash, so now you can recycle them. So it is up to you, but, you know, this is kind of what you're working with for Crossheart. I still think the deck is insane because it has access to Rush, which is really good, but it also has access to most of its cards. So in Crossheart, you can't just kind of rookie rush your opponent down and then try to go for like Cross 4 or Cross 5, specifically in this format, because if you have all the pieces, they can just play themselves for free. And then next thing you know, your opponent's on the back burner because you can just hit them once and the game's over. But yeah, pretty much that's what we're working with, guys. That's what Crossheart might be able to do in this format. I still think that this is a great deck for the format because a lot of people who probably wanted to try Crossheart but don't want to try in the modern format, this might be your way to try it in this format, and maybe you'll find the spicy goo that will make this deck even better. But guys, that's all I've got for you today. I do hope you enjoyed this Regulation Battle Volume 1 video, and I do hope you enjoy as the format gets closer and closer, as at this point we are going to be on the rundown to BT21 and the World Convergence is on the way. But thank you guys all so much, as this has been Brad from the Ed Army signing off, and for all of you out there to sign on.